everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Ask Cat about anxiety. I am very excited. Excited is not the right word. I'm very glad to be making this video today because a lot of you guys tweet me about anxiety, and it's something that I haven't talked about a lot on my channel, and it's something that I've experienced a lot in my life, like really bad. So I kind of just wanted to get the conversation going about this topic so I could do more videos about it if I felt like it, or just, I don't know, this is something I really wanted to do. So let's just start with what is anxiety. Anxiety is a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease, typically about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome. I mean, I feel like we all more or less get what anxiety is, but for some people, anxiety is just a very different experience than it is for others. People with really bad, like general anxiety, or people that suffer from panic attacks, social anxiety, it's gonna hit us all in different ways depending on what affects you. You guys asked me questions on Instagram and Twitter, and you guys had more questions on this than anything I think I've ever had questions for. So let's just get right into these. Rayleigh Johnson asked, what were a few signs that you began to think were unusual or made you think of your anxiety as more of an issue than a typical nervousness? And I really like that you asked this question because I think that it's really important to be very self-aware. Sometimes I get scared of things, but I don't need to go see a therapist about it just because I'm like scared to, you know, jump off of a bridge when I'm going bungee jumping. Like, that's a situation where you're supposed to be scared and anxious and nervous, or at least if you're me, you're gonna be in your pants basically. But when there's a situation where you're about to go to your friend's birthday party and you're suddenly paralyzed with fear that people are gonna be judging you, then that's not so much of like a normal situation. When it starts to affect things in your life, like if it is withholding you from doing the things that you want to do, that's when it's not as normal anymore. That's when it's starting to become an issue because it's actually affecting your life and life decisions. Castlewin57 asked, have you ever gotten anxiety to the point where you throw up? Is that normal? And this question, actually, I'm gonna tie in with another question in the same answer. The second question is from Carrie Nguyen. It says, anxiety is different for different people and everyone deals with it in different ways. But what do you get anxiety about the most, and how do you get your anxiety level lower personally? Okay, so to answer both of these, in the same question, I actually started going to therapy 3 or 4 years ago when I was going through a really bad breakup. And I was so anxious about the breakup that I was throwing up non-stop. Like, I couldn't get my feelings in order. I didn't know if I was making the right decision. I felt terrible for hurting another person. I was scared of what my future was gonna be like when we broke up. And it was just really, really intense anxiety. And I threw up for like a whole day. I wasn't even eating, I was just throwing up stomach acid. And that, I've actually, you know, it is very normal for people to throw up with anxiety. Your stomach is directly connected to those, when you get nervous and anxious, it just hits your stomach. So sometimes people, when they get anxious, they like want to eat. So they actually eat a lot, kind of like with stress. That kind of got me into therapy, and that's one of the ways that I deal with anxiety, and I have for the last few years, is going to talk therapy. Now, a therapist is different than a psychiatrist. A psychiatrist prescribes drugs, and a therapist does not do that. It's just talking and different other kinds of methods of therapy. And then recently this year, as of 2 months ago, I started taking Zoloft, which is an antidepressant and that focuses on anti-anxiety. Now, I also have dealt with depression, I would say, not my whole life, but teenage years into my 20s currently. Don't really talk about that a lot either on here. I just haven't felt compelled to do that, and this is focusing on anxiety, so I'm still not gonna do that. Maybe I'll talk to you guys about it sometime in another video. But anyways, I started taking Zoloft, which is the first time I've ever taken prescription medicine, basically, for something that wasn't like, you know, I've taken things like penicillin when I get strep throat and things like that, but this is the first time that I am taking like a regular medication, and I was very nervous at first. I wasn't sure. I was really anxious about taking anxiety medication because I thought that it would change my personality, that I would feel dull, that I wouldn't feel anything, you know, because you hear a lot of people say these side effects when you're taking prescription drugs for anxiety or depression. And you know what, guys? It's actually changed my life. I'm so much happier now. My anxiety that used to be every day say on like an 8, like a solid 8, 8.5, is now probably just like a solid 4. And it's just crazy for me because the things that would trigger anxiety the most, for me it was getting in Ubers, being in a car, basically any vehicle, moving vehicle, whether it's a boat or like a golf cart or anything that someone else is driving, because I got in a really bad car accident when I was 18 and someone else was driving when that happened. So I kind of have this like mild PTSD that like when I get in a car and someone else is driving, I would start crying when they didn't brake when I wanted them to stop. I, you know, grabbed the door. I just like all these things. And my heart would just be beating so fast. I can't even talk to my friends when they're driving because I'm so anxious. So anyways, I don't have that as bad anymore. I mean, that used to be such an intense everyday issue for me. And I sometimes wouldn't even be able to go to parties because I would just call my Uber over and over and cancel it because I would be like, I can't do this. Oh wait, I really want to go. Oh wait, but I can't get in the Uber. No, but I want to go, but I can't get in the Uber. And it just became this like huge thing. So cars definitely trigger it the most. Being in an environment where there's strangers and I don't really know anyone, I hate that. Like I just choose to not be in that environment as much as possible. I would say getting in a car accident and social stuff are the 2 biggest anxiety causers in my life. Now it's like really not as much of an issue, but yeah, I kind of talked about that for a while. Next question. Ella Mal asked me, who do you go to if you want to get professional help / diagnosed? And then I'm also going to tie this in with another question that I thought was good. How anxious should you be before going to speak to a professional? Would you go straight away or make sure it's not just a one-time thing? So when you say one-time thing, I don't know if you mean if you had a panic attack or if you just felt anxious once, because just feeling anxious once is not really likely. Having a panic attack once could be something that happens in your life because whatever it was that triggered you to have that panic attack, it does not mean that you're gonna have a bunch more. But I mean, I think general anxiety that you just like, that's average. I think that that's something that will definitely just reoccur in your life or most people's lives. So anyways, who do you go to? I say first, obviously, if you're living with your parents, I think it would be good to go to your parents first and just talk with them about what you're dealing with, what you're going through. A lot of you also ask, how do I tell my family that I have anxiety? How do I talk to my friends and family about it? And I would just say, start with the close people in your life. Start with your best friends, start with your parents, start with your siblings maybe, and just begin to open up about it, talk about it. Let them know like when you're feeling it and what triggers it and how it makes you feel and what physical things are happening to your body. Do your cheeks flush? Does your heart rate? Do you start to sweat? There's so many little different things that can happen that give you signs of knowing, like telling your body like, I don't like this, I'm nervous. And it's good to pay attention to those things and then be able to express it to your friends and family when it's happening. Because sometimes I think what a lot of people do is they start feeling really anxious and then they try to hide it and mask it, and it almost makes the anxiety worse. If you're able to talk about it and express like how you're feeling, sometimes that actually in itself lowers your anxiety. And if you're somebody that lives alone and takes care of your own medical situation, then what I did was I literally just Googled professional therapists in Los Angeles, and then it brought me to this website that was like Psychology Today or like some like very generic site that listed tons of therapists in LA, and they have like their bios, and I read like hours of bios, which I don't necessarily recommend, and I finally like found the one that I was like, I love this bio, I really connect with this woman. And then I reached out to her and I actually just thought she was amazing right off the bat. And that's how I found my therapist, was Google. But you can like look on Yelp, I guess. And I mean, referrals are a huge thing. If you know anyone that goes to therapy and likes their therapist, be like, hey, can I get a referral to your therapist? Or does your therapist have a recommendation for someone for me to see? I ask my therapist for recommendations all the time for my friends. But if you have the money or the health insurance or some way to be able to get to a therapist and you're feeling any sort of regular anxiety that's starting to, you know, affect your everyday life, I highly recommend going to a therapist. It has changed my life for sure. Grace New Yorkberg asked, what should you do in a situation where your friend is having a panic attack? And actually tons of you asked me this question. And I think the best thing you can do is try to just, you know, understand the fact that when someone's having a panic attack, they're not exactly thinking rationally and they're just in this flight or fight mode. Like their body is just panicking, wanting to get out of the situation, and they might be feeling like they're about to die. You don't really know exactly what's going on with one person when that's happening. But what you do know is they're okay. and they need to breathe. Trying to help them regulate their breathing is really important. So just like, be like, take a deep breath, and another one, and like help coach them with their breathing, because breathing is so important and they're gonna be okay. And a lot of times what happens is people think, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. Remind them, you can breathe, you're talking, you're breathing right now, you're fine. Just like keep saying positive things to them, because it's gonna pass. Tell them this is about to be over, it's almost over, because panic attacks don't normally last that long. It's very, very scary for the person experiencing it and the person with them if you haven't ever seen that before. I've been in several situations where people are having panic attacks and I'm trying to be there for them. I had one situation where the person was having a panic attack and it was so intense, like their face turned ghost white. They were sweating bullets, but their body was freezing. They threw up and they started slurring their speech, and I thought they were having a stroke. So I called 911, and because I was so worried for them, I didn't know what was going on, and the EMT told me that they actually just had a really intense panic attack. And I think that sometimes people, when they're having a panic attack, they start panicking that they're having a panic attack. So you just need to like constantly remind them that they're okay. Be there for them, understand, don't judge them, don't dismiss anything they're feeling, don't tell them that they're crazy or stupid or ridiculous for feeling this way, just be there for them. All right, I think I'm gonna close it out with that question because this video is getting kind of long now. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you did. Please give this video a thumbs up. I wanna try to get it to 3,452 likes. Share this video with your friends who have issues with anxiety, or anyone you know that's dealing with anxiety. Please, please, please share, tweet, Facebook, Instagram this video. Don't forget to add me on Snapchat. I am your favorite cat, and you can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter if you don't already, and turn all of the notifications on. You guys are wonderful, and I will see you here soon with an all new video.